Welcome to the $5 channel and our video on electronic hybrid craps tables, the top 10 pros and cons. In this video, we'll discuss the top 10 things that I think someone that's considering playing a hybrid electronic glass craps table should know. I'll break this down for you by the top 5 pros and the top 5 cons, and how those pros and cons could potentially impact winning at the craps table. If you haven't yet played one of these hybrid glass top electronic tables that are coming out in many casinos across the country, then you're in for an interesting experience once you do. The first positive takeaway I would say about these games are the table minimums. The game I played had just a $5 minimum. The casino only needs to pay one dealer in this game. There's just one lone dealer, he's the stick man, and he also enters the dice combination in the computer. For example, if the shooter throws an 11, they enter the dice combination of a 6 and a 5. I'm guessing that the ability to reduce the number of dealers is why the table minimums seem to be lower on these tables. As many casinos have raised their table minimums once they opened back up from COVID, the lower table minimums are a welcome sign for many craps players. The first con is that this table has a film on it. At first glance, it looks like a glass table, but it feels more like plexiglass, and it has like a thick coating on it. Depending on how you land the dice, the coating can make the dice take a funny bounce sometimes. A funny bounce equals a random roll, and the likelihood of a 7 out increases. The second pro is that there are no landmines. Typically when you're throwing the dice, you have chips all over the table. Especially on a longer roll, the amount of chips can get crazy. So it's pretty nice not to have any chips in your way as you toss the dice. This means that there is no chance of a random chip blowing up your roll. I would also add to this that you also don't have people's hands in the way. So there's no late field bets coming in, being placed on the table just as you're releasing the dice. A player's hand in the way can end a roll as fast as a random chip. So there's no whammies, no whammies. The second negative thing is there isn't much interaction among players at the table. People are betting on their own machines, and again, there's less dealers. So in general, it's a little less social of a game than a typical craps table. There is still some interaction among players, but not as much as you typically see on a regular craps table. I see this as a con, as an excited craps table creates an energy that can lead to not just more fun, but potentially a hotter roll. The third pro is that there's no one buying in the middle of your roll. When a new player walks up, they aren't stopping the game for them to buy in. Craps players can be particularly superstitious, and many people believe buying in the middle of the roll can spell certain doom for the roll. The good news here is that they just slip their money into the machine just like they would a slot machine, and the game continues. It not only helps with no interrupting the roll, but it keeps the game moving as well. The third con about electric hybrid craps tables is that you can actually see how much money you have on the table. Now, some people could argue that that's actually a pro, but I found myself missing out on some money because at any time you can look down and see how much is on your machine and exactly how much you have in play. When you have chips spread out all over the table, at a regular craps table, it's easier not to think about how much you would actually lose if the next roll was a 7. Now again, this could be spun as a positive thing, as it's pretty easy to pull down your bets if you feel like the next roll is going to be a 7 and that the roll is going to be coming to an end. The fourth positive thing I found was that I was getting far less crap from the dealers if the dice were short rolled. Now, this can certainly vary by casino and even by the dealer. But remember, there's just one dealer at this table. That's 3 less people that have an opportunity to jump up your butt if your dice don't drill the back wall. The fourth negative thing is that in most casinos, this game is treated like a slot rather than a table game. Since you aren't using physical chips, you're getting a ticket voucher that you have to redeem just like you do on slots. What's significant about this is that I was told by a dealer recently that if you win more than $1,200, you're going to have to fill out the IRS form just like you would if you hit a jackpot on a slot machine. there could be some advantages to having the game treated like a slot when it comes to earning points on your Players Club card, for example. Many casinos do a pretty poor job of rating players on table games, but they pass out comps like Halloween candy for the slots players. The fifth pro about hybrid craps tables are the lights, sounds, and especially the hot roll feature. Now, some people are going to disagree, but I really like the lights and the sounds that these tables make. It adds some fun to the game, especially if you're playing at a casino where the regular craps tables, the players are acting like they're in a morgue. I especially like how the table keeps track of how many rolls the shooter has had, and the table changes colors from green to yellow as the roll starts to heat up, and then even to red as the table gets hot after a certain number of rolls. It's a cool feature and adds some fun to the game. The fifth con about electronic craps tables is that the betting machines can get kind of in the way when you're trying to toss the dice. The machines are a little bulky, so reaching over them for the dice might be a little harder for some people. You can kind of scoot over a little bit between the machines to toss the dice, but there's typically a drink holder there, and if there's drinks in it, you could be leaning over those drinks, so you just have to be aware of where you're at. It shouldn't be a problem for most, but depending on someone's body type, it could be a challenge. I will add that the table does seem a little bit deeper than most regular craps tables, and so it's actually pretty hard to throw the dice off the table, I will say that. In summary, I'd say this is a great addition to the casino. It may not be for everyone, but it creates another option for playing craps, and I'd say the pros outweigh the cons. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to get your take on this. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please like, comment, don't forget to subscribe to the $5 Yo channel, and go and make your own luck, my friends.